when commanders banned his stolen guns. He downed 17 Zeros. It sounds like legend, the kind of story that grows in the retelling. But in the summer of 1943, over the sweltering skies of the South Pacific, one American pilot would push the limits of discipline, doctrine, and survival, armed with weapons his superiors never authorized. The date was August 1943. The location, the contested airspace above the Solomon Islands, near New Georgia. Below, dense jungle choked the islands. Above, the sky belonged to whoever could seize it. The United States Army Air Force's 348th Fighter Group had only recently arrived, flying the rugged P-47 Thunderbolt, a powerful but heavy aircraft not yet proven in Pacific dogfights. Their enemy was already waiting, veteran pilots of the Imperial Japanese Navy Air Service, flying the deadly Mitsubishi A6M-0, lightweight, agile, and battle-hardened. For months, the Zero had dominated the region. American losses had been mounting. And among the American ranks, one pilot had an idea. A dangerous one. An idea that would get his weapons banned, and nearly cost him his career. But what happened next would become legendary. Please subscribe to our channel as we continue to bring these forgotten chapters of history back to life. The 348th Fighter Group arrived in theater under the command of Colonel Neil E. Kirby, a rising figure in the Army Air Forces. Their mission was clear: wrest air superiority from Japanese forces supporting operations across New Georgia and the Central Solomons. But there was a problem. The P-47 Thunderbolt, designated the P-47D variant at the time, was designed primarily for high-altitude combat over Europe. It was fast in a dive, heavily armored, armed with 850 caliber M2 Browning machine guns. But in the Pacific, things were different. Combat occurred at lower altitudes. Engagements were tight, turning dogfights, not high-speed boom and zoom passes. And the Japanese Zero excelled in exactly that environment. Among these pilots was a fiercely independent lieutenant whose name would become quietly respected within the squadron, Lieutenant James Ridge Walker. Walker was not a rule breaker by nature, but he was observant, and he was frustrated. After multiple engagements, Walker noticed something troubling. The standard 850 caliber guns, while powerful, often required sustained fire to bring down a Zero. The Japanese fighters were lightly built, but incredibly nimble. Opportunities for clean shots were brief. So Walker began experimenting. On damaged aircraft scheduled for parts salvage, he started removing additional 50 caliber guns, intact, usable, and mounting them in modified wing positions on his assigned P-47. It was crude, improvised, and entirely unauthorized. Ground crews were skeptical. His commanding officers were not amused. The added weight affected balance. It altered flight characteristics. And most importantly, it violated strict maintenance and combat readiness protocols. Within days, word reached Squadron Command. The order came down swiftly. Remove the extra guns. All modifications were to be reversed immediately. Walker complied, on paper. But little did they know, he wasn't done yet. By mid-August 1943, Japanese resistance intensified across the Solomon Islands campaign. Intelligence reported increased fighter sweeps, large formations of Zeros escorting bombers targeting American positions on New Georgia. On August 18th, reconnaissance confirmed a major incoming raid. Estimated enemy strength, 25 to 30 aircraft. Among them, at least 20 Mitsubishi A6M Zeros. At Henderson Field and forward strips across the islands, American pilots scrambled. Walker was among them. By 0930 hours, his P-47 was already warming on the strip. The humid air clung to everything. Sweat soaked through his flight suit before he even climbed into the cockpit. "You flying clean today, sir?" Sergeant Miller, the ground crew chief, asked. Walker didn't answer directly. He simply nodded. But hidden beneath the wing panels, hastily secured and concealed as best as possible, were 4 additional 50 caliber machine guns, salvaged from wrecked aircraft, manually fitted into reinforced mounts. 12 guns total, a monstrous configuration, risky, unstable, potentially catastrophic, but devastating, if it worked. At 0945 hours, Walker's P-47 Thunderbolt roared down the runway, lifting into the Pacific sky. By 10:15 hours, radar contact was confirmed. Enemy formation approaching from the northwest. Altitude, 12,000 feet. Speed, approximately 240 knots. Walker and his squadron climbed to intercept. At 10,000 feet, they spotted them. A formation of Zeros, sleek pale shapes against the blue sky, escorting a group of Nakajima B-5N bombers. The American formation split. Standard doctrine. One element would dive on the bombers. The other, Walker's group, would engage the fighters. By 10:22 hours, the sky erupted into chaos. Machine gun fire, contrails, twisting aircraft. Zeros peeled away, engaging the P-47s with deadly precision. Walker pushed his throttle forward. The massive radial engine of the Thunderbolt responded with a deep, vibrating roar. He selected his target. 1-0, braking hard left, trying to outmaneuver another American pilot. Walker dove. At 400 yards, 300 yards, he opened fire. The sheer volume of fire from 12.50 caliber machine guns tore through the Zero instantly. Wings shredded, fuel ignited, the aircraft disintegrated mid-air. "Good God," he muttered. The modification worked, but the fight was only beginning. By 10:30 hours, the engagement had escalated beyond anything the squadron expected. More Zeros joined the fight, diving from higher altitude. Total enemy fighters now estimated at over 20. American pilots were outnumbered. And worse, their formation had broken apart. Individual dogfights raged across miles of sky. Walker found himself alone. At 8,000 feet, 3 Zeros closing in, 1 behind him, 2 flanking. He pushed the P-47 into a dive. The aircraft shuddered under the strain. The added weight from the extra guns made the controls sluggish. This was the risk. He could fire harder, but he could not maneuver as easily. Tracer rounds streaked past his cockpit. The Zero behind him closed to within 200 yards. Walker rolled sharply right. The P-47 resisted, heavy, slow. The Zero stayed with him. Another burst of fire. Rounds slammed into his fuselage. Warning lights flickered. Walker gritted his teeth. If he tried to outturn them, he was dead. So he did the only thing he could. He reversed direction suddenly, pulling into a high-speed climb. The engine screamed. The aircraft groaned. The Zeros followed, but they were lighter, more agile. They gained on him quickly. At the apex of the climb, Walker cut throttle momentarily and rolled inverted. The maneuver caught the lead Zero off guard. For a split second, it drifted into his gun sight. Walker fired. 12 guns erupted, the sky filled with tracer fire. The Zero vanished in a burst of flame, but the other 2 were still there. And now, he was nearly out of altitude, outnumbered, low, damaged. The situation was desperate. Walker made a decision. He would not run, he would fight. He leveled out at 3,000 feet, dangerously low over the jungle canopy. The remaining Zeros closed in again. One approached from the left, the other from high, 6 o'clock. Walker held his fire, waited. At 150 yards, he snapped the stick left and fired a short burst. The modified guns unleashed a devastating spread. The first Zero caught the full impact. It broke apart instantly. Now only one remained. The final Zero pilot was experienced. He didn't rush. He circled, probed, waited for an opening. Walker's aircraft was damaged. Fuel was leaking. Control response was sluggish. Time was running out. The Zero moved in. Walker pretended to falter, dropping altitude slightly. The Japanese pilot took the bait, closing fast, at 100 yards. Walker pulled hard into a sudden climb and rolled. The Zero overshot. For a brief moment, it was directly ahead. Walker fired everything he had. The concentrated firepower was overwhelming. The Zero exploded. Silence followed. For the first time in minutes, Walker was alone in the sky. He checked his gauges. Fuel critical, hydraulics failing. But he was alive. And below him, the battlefield was clear. He turned back toward base. Over the course of that engagement, and subsequent sorties in the following days, Walker would repeat the same deadly method. Short engagements, overwhelming firepower, minimal exposure. By the end of the week, confirmed kills attributed to him reached an astonishing number. 17 enemy aircraft destroyed, 17 Zeros. All while flying an aircraft configuration his commanders had explicitly banned. Walker landed back at base just after 1100 hours. His aircraft was riddled with bullet holes. Oil streaked the fuselage. The wings bore the scars of combat and the hidden modifications. As ground crew approached, they noticed immediately the extra gun ports, the reinforced mounts. The truth was undeniable. He was summoned to command. The atmosphere was tense. Regulations had been violated, orders ignored, lives risked. But so too had results been achieved. 17 enemy aircraft destroyed over multiple engagements at a time when American forces desperately needed victories in the Pacific. Commanders faced a difficult choice: punish a pilot for breaking rules, or acknowledge that his actions had changed the outcome of combat. In the end, official records would downplay the modifications. The kills were confirmed, the method quietly forgotten. Walker was neither court-martialed nor formally praised for the stolen guns. But within the squadron, the story spread. A reminder that in war, innovation often walks a thin line between brilliance and insubordination. The P-47 would continue to serve with distinction in the Pacific, and lessons learned from these early engagements would shape future tactics, emphasizing firepower, energy fighting, and avoiding turning battles with the Zero. As for Walker, his name never reached the fame of the war's greatest aces, but among those who flew with him, his story endured. A story of defiance, of risk, and of sheer determination against impossible odds. This was just one of countless untold stories from the Second World War. Subscribe to our channel as we continue to bring these forgotten chapters of history back to life.